Hello, I'm Joe Lenton, and I want to show you today a little bit about split toning, toning an image and split toning an image. Quite simply, it just means coloring an image, adding a color to it. So a single tone just adds one color, split tone adds two colors. And in Lightroom, we've got this panel dedicated to that over here on the right, split toning. We've got highlights, we've got control sliders for that, and then we've got shadows underneath with its own control sliders as well. The easiest way to understand it is if I just dive in and show you. So we've got a monochrome image here, a black and white image, and it's going to make it nice and easy for you to see what's going on. So if I pick a color for the highlights, for example, a sort of cyan color here, and then dial in a little bit of saturation, take it all the way up, and you'll see very, very saturated blue. Take it back down again, much softer, bring it to the middle, a bit more balanced, and so on. So you can see there, you can easily adjust the saturation with that saturation slider very, very quickly and see in real time what's going on. You can change the color from it immediately. Just take the slider and drag it along anywhere along there that you like. So you can go for something a little bit warmer, keep it cool, green even, yellowy sort of color. Very, very quick and easy to see exactly what's happening to your image, especially when it's already a black and white one like this. So that is adding a single tone into the highlights. If I just reset those for the moment, take them back to 0, you can do exactly the same sort of thing with the emphasis being on the shadows. So again, let's just pick a color and bring up the saturation. This time it's a little bit more in the shadows. Okay, so in essence, it's as simple as that. Grab yourself a color, play around with the saturation until you get the level that you like. So that's adding a single color. That's just toning a monochrome image. Now, if we want to split tone it, we're adding one in the highlights, one in the shadows. So, for example, we could go with something a little bit like that. So we've got a little bit of a sort of yellowy color in the highlights, and then in the shadows, we've got this bluey, purpley sort of color instead. Okay, so you can see that we've got two different colors coming through in our image. Now in the middle here, we've got the balance slider, and this is for when you've got those two different colors, you can decide which one you want to be more dominant. So you can slide it more towards the shadows, or slide it more towards the highlights, or just leave it in the middle. So you can choose your balance between the other adjustments that you're making in the highlights and shadow sections. So play around with those, and you can very quickly see what's going on with your image, and it's a nice little way of just spicing things up a bit. But you don't just use it for black and white. You can also use it on color images. Even though this might sound a bit strange, it can add an interesting effect. At the moment, there's quite a few people using this for a sort of vintagey style thing, a little bit like old cross-processing by doing something like this. So you take a bit of a yellowy color into the highlights, and then you go to the shadows, sort of more of a blue color, and bring that in, and you get something roughly like that. So let me just turn that off and on again. So that's before, and that's after. It's handy, these little buttons you've got at the corner of the tabs here in Lightroom as well, where you can see if you're not sure what you've done, you just click on there and it'll turn it off and turn it on again. So with these things, as with any effect in Lightroom or Photoshop, you can be subtle or you can choose to go over the top. So if you're somebody who likes to go over the top, you can just drag your saturation way over and you'll see that it gets quite extreme. Or you can be much more subtle about it, just adding a small amount in, it's only affecting the image ever so slightly. So again, you can choose what combination of colors you like. The yellow and the blue there is quite a common one for a vintage sort of effect. It's a tried and tested one, but other combinations can work as well. You could, for example, try bringing in something that was a bit more reminiscent of a sepia with, but for that, you do need to convert to black and white. And then you'll have a little bit of the more sort of yellowy and reddy colors in there like that, and you can see getting there. And if you're not sure, we just add in that saturation, see it even more strongly. There you go. That's a kind of a sort of sepia effect. You can change the balance in there till you get exactly what you're after. And then just one more so that you can see it here. If you're playing around with something like this, you might think, oh, I've already got quite a lot of green in here. Why don't I try boosting that? I'll pop a bit more green in the shadows. Well, that can overdo it because it can just look like you're whacking up the saturation overall. It's often better to go with something slightly different. So perhaps if we went for something like a blue there, that's a little bit more interesting. If you're not really sure how much color you've actually added in there, you can use the before and the after by turning it on and off, or you can go to black and white. And now you can see that we have actually added in quite a lot of color to that. That helps you to see what has been going on there. We switch back to the color version there. You don't see it as easily, but it is still there. And again, you might want to just go for something warmer in the highlights. You could push it even more towards the red for a different type of sort of vintage effect. So that's it, toning and split toning, adding one color or adding two. Easy enough to do, and yes, you can do it in Photoshop as well. Lightroom is particularly easy to have a bit of a play around because you can see straight away what's happening. So do grab yourself an image and dive in and have a go. Thank you very much for watching.